Bon, bonsoir tout le monde et bienvenue à notre séance ordinaire de Ville-Mont-Royal. Town Council meeting, Tuesday, April 25th, 2023, and it's 19:11 p.m. And with that, we're going to open the meeting with announcements from our elected officials, and we will start in order of districts. And prior to doing that, I would just like to mention once again que Maya Chamas, notre conseiller pour district numéro 4, n'est pas disponible ce soir et on espère de le voir très bientôt au conseil. Alors avec ça, on commence avec les annonces des élus. Alors on commence avec district numéro 1, M. Taillard.
Oui, bonsoir tout le monde. J'ai deux annonces ce soir. First one is for the Aspiring Counselor Program 2023. There will still be some spots available for the Apprentice Monitor Program, the AMP, for 15 and 16 years old and comprehensive training program for a day camp leaders. Please contact the Recreation Center or visit the website for more details. Obviously, it's a very important program for youth. It will help them live and understand and really participate and in the future in political life and in leadership life, in the leadership roles. Le deuxième point que j'ai pour ce soir, c'est pour le salon d'art de 2023, le Art Tram. Le salon d'art 2023 se tiendra le 5, 6 et 7 mai, donc la semaine prochaine, à l'Hôtel de Ville. Le vernissage aura lieu de 18h à 20h le vendredi 5 mai. Juste comme rappel, l'année passée, il y avait 130 œuvres qui ont été exhibées avec 40 différents artistes. Je pense que c'était très bien, surtout après une période de Covid qui a empêché les artistes et l'art d'être à portée de tous. Donc, j'espère que vous serez nombreux pour assister à ce salon annuel qui est devenu très attendu d'année en année. Merci.
Merci beaucoup. Alors, on passe la parole à district numéro 2, Mme Kamali.
Bonsoir tout le monde. Ce soir, j'ai deux petites annonces à vous donner, deux sujets. Première, c'est à propos des arbres. Collection of tree and shrub branches. We have completed our branch collection following the ice storm and the regular spring collection of tree branches. And the shrub will resume in the town until the end of September. This collection is on request only. Residents wishing to obtain such a collection must complete a formular or call the information collection line at 514-734-4123 before noon on Wednesdays. Please visit our website for more information too. And the second subject is about the compost. Compost distribution and document sharing service will be take place on Saturday, May 13 and Sunday, May 14 from 9 a.m. to 16 at the Public Work Park in Avenue Clyde Road in number 180. Quantity limited to 200 liters per address. You can bring your shovel and the containers and the proof of residence. And our document sharing service will also be offered on Saturday, May 13. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Merci beaucoup. Alors, district numéro 3, Daniel Pilon.
Bonsoir. Two short messages. Le premier, concernant les sports et les loisirs, juste pour vous rappeler que l'ouverture des terrains de tennis est prévue pour samedi, le 6 mai, si la température le permet. Second message is about safety, side triangle. We wish to remind residents that for yards located at intersections, planting within the side triangle may not be higher than 90 centimeters. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup. Alors, on passe la parole au district numéro 5, Julialde.
Bonsoir. J'ai une petite nouvelle pour vous ce soir. Alors, c'est pour la vente des baraques communautaires. Alors, la vente des baraques aura lieu le samedi 27 mai de 9h à 13h à l'Aréna de Ville-Mont-Royal. Depuis hier, il est possible pour les vendeurs de réserver leur place. Il suffit de vous connecter au site d'inscription en ligne Mon Accès et de choisir Vente des baraques comme activité. J'ai essayé, ça fonctionne bien. un seul emplacement par adresse, et ceci au coût de 20 $ pour les résidents de Ville-Mont-Royal et 30 $ pour les résidents du secteur Glenmount. If you would like more information on the community garage sale, please go to our website. You'll have additional information. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much. Alors, district numéro 6, Caroline Descaloué.
Bonsoir. Alors, petite annonce concernant le nettoyage du printemps. Alors, maintenant que nous avons complété le verglas, nous sommes bien heureux de préparer le nettoyage du printemps. Nous vous rappelons qu'il est interdit de déposer, de laisser ou de souffler des débris organiques, donc les feuilles, les branches, les tontes de gazon dans la rue ou sur le trottoir. Merci d'en aviser votre jardinier, sinon il y aurait des amendes de 150 $ plus les frais. On vous invite à disposer les débris dans les bacs attitrés à cette fin. Also, I would like to remind you that it's prohibited to pour a swimming pool's wastewater onto the street. Drainage of the swimming pool must be done by using a pump with a hose long enough to bring the wastewater to a manhole. Merci, bonne soirée.
Merci beaucoup. Alors, pour district numéro 7, Sébastien Dreyfus.
Bonsoir. La Ville a présenté, en collaboration avec Jour de la Terre Canada, une conférence virtuelle de sensibilisation sur l'alimentation saine et durable. Ça, c'était jeudi dernier. Et pour ceux qui auraient manqué cette conférence dans le cadre du Jour de la Terre, l'enregistrement sera disponible sur le site web de la Ville pendant 1 mois. Et des documents d'accompagnement et d'aide-mémoire seront également disponibles dans cet article. Notez que 3 certificats cadeaux ont été tirés parmi les participants qui étaient présents et qu'on a également eu un concours for the Earth Day, and 7 gift certificates were awarded of $50 were to be spent in the town of Mont-Royal's Summer Public Market have been awarded. Et enfin, je voulais vous dire que la plantation de 3 arbres sur le terrain de l'école secondaire Pierre-Laporte et de 3 autres arbres sur le terrain de l'école secondaire Mont-Royal est prévue et se fera en même temps que la plantation des autres arbres qui sont prévus par la Ville. Merci. Bonne soirée.
Merci beaucoup. Alors, finalement, district numéro 8, Sophie Séguin.
Merci beaucoup. Encore une fois, ce mois-ci, la programmation de la bibliothèque et des activités, autant à la section adultes qu'enfants, est impressionnante. J'espère que chacun d'entre vous allez prendre le temps d'aller visiter notre bibliothèque, d'aller sur le site web, suivre la page Facebook ou lire le livret, parce que la multitude d'activités et d'ateliers est vraiment pour tous les goûts. Et rapidement, je vais vous dire de noter à votre agenda la journée du poème le 27 avril, toute la journée jeudi, un atelier de yoga facial le 9 mai, un atelier de tricot, une conférence sur la Côte-Nord, donc ça vous explique un peu l'étendue des ateliers et des conférences. Et pour les enfants, il y a toujours l'heure du conte les matins, la semaine, pour les en bas de 5 ans. On a même une switch de jeux vidéo sur place où les enfants qui n'ont peut-être pas la chance d'en avoir une à la maison peuvent aller jouer. Et les ateliers pour les enfants se poursuivent sur les thèmes de la science le samedi 6 mai, un atelier de création pour la fête des mères en mai et le mois de la BD plus tard en mai, et ça continue. Donc, utilisez ce service superbe qu'on a à Ville-Mont-Royal. Merci. Merci beaucoup. Alors, on est fini avec les annonces. Alors, je vais commencer avec l'ouverture de la séance avec mes commentaires de qu'est-ce qui s'est passé depuis la dernière réunion. Bonsoir à tous et à toutes. Merci d'être avec nous et de suivre les activités de la Ville, soit en présentiel ou soit en différé. Thank you for spending your evening with us, be it in person or via webcast. Workers' Day is coming up. I'd like to start this evening by mentioning that on Friday, April 28th, the town flag will be flying at half-mast in recognition of Workers' Day. Journée de deuil des travailleurs blessés ou décédés au travail. This recognition is important to us all, but particularly our blue-collar workers who work tirelessly to ensure many of the services to our residents. L'hôtel de ville sera éclairé en jaune, car le jaune est la couleur associée à cette journée de deuil. Le verglas and the power outage. Ceci m'amène à vous parler de la tempête de verglas et de la panne Hydro-Québec subséquente. Il s'agissait d'une situation inattendue et exceptionnelle.
la quantité de verglas a dépassé les prévisions météorologiques pour le double. La Ville a réagi rapidement, vu l'ampleur de la situation. Nous avons ouvert notre hôtel de ville pour permettre aux résidents de venir recharger leurs équipements électroniques, venir se réchauffer et prendre un café et collation. Nos employés travaux publics et sécurité publique ont tout de suite assuré la sécurité des rues, panneaux, stop temporaires, enlèvement des branches et de la chaussée, etc. We called on our external contractors to immediately begin removing branches, cutting dangerous trees and branches, and shredding branches. We completed the cleaning of the city a few days ago. I think it's fair to say that we reacted quickly and took the necessary action. Je tiens à remercier tous les employés qui ont été impliqués dans cette situation hors du commun et ont travaillé très fort et qui ont dû mettre leur congé de Pâques de côté pour aider les citoyens de Ville-Mont-Royal. I'd like to take this moment to publicly thank all our staff who worked tirelessly to set up Schofield Hall for the benefit of residents without power, who worked on the road to ensure the safety of our residents, be it via public security or public works. These employees gave up their Easter 4-day holiday to ensure the well-being of residents. I'd also like to take a moment to thank the many residents who sent in emails of thanks and appreciation for the accommodation in Schofield Hall and the kindness and support of the staff. Some statistics on the power outage. 48 heures avant le verglas, les travaux publics ont réagi en se préparant en régie pour être prêts à sécuriser les chaussées et trottoirs et vérifier la disponibilité des équipes requises. La sécurité publique a reçu un grand total de 2625 appels en 5 jours, soit 525 appels par jour. Schofield Hall was open Thursday, April the 5th to Sunday, April the 8th from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And the library was open on Monday, April the 9th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. There were roughly 700 visitors over the 5-day period. La Ville estime les dépenses de ramassage de branches, élagage et abattage déjà réalisées par les sous-traitants à 170 000 et ce montant va augmenter avec les travaux qui restent à faire. La compilation des données pour l'équipe en régie est en cours. Les dépenses causées par le verglas seront soumises à la CCMU. Ça, c'est le Centre de coordination de mesures d'urgence. La Ville a un programme triannuel d'entretien de la forêt urbaine et d'émondage, d'élagage et de coupe d'arbres. Nous nous occupons de notre couvert végétal. Cependant, cette forêt urbaine est vieillissante et il est évident que des branches tombent. De son côté, Hydro-Québec procède à l'émondage d'arbres près des lignes de Hydro-Québec. Ce travail ne se fait pas, malheureusement, avec autant de suivi et rigueur que le programme de la Ville. Nous sommes en contact avec Hydro-Québec pour qu'un programme d'entretien des arbres près des lignes électriques soit mieux élaboré et suivi. Il est noté toutefois que pour que ce faire, Hydro-Québec doit accéder via les propriétaires riverains. Residents will therefore also need to cooperate to allow Hydro-Québec to access their rear yards. Residents also need to ensure the maintenance of trees on their own property. Jour de la Terre. Le 22 avril était Jour de la Terre et la Ville a souligné l'événement comme chaque année. Je suis particulièrement content de vous dire que nous avons fait un don de 3 arbres à chacun des écoles secondaires pour verdir et embellir leur terrain. Summer Public Markets. We held a drawing for issuing gift certificates to the town's Summer Public Market. This, we feel, promotes both healthy eating habits as well as our public market. We encourage you once again to come and enjoy the summer market. le quartier sportif et communautaire. C'est avec grand plaisir que je vous annonce que nous déposons ce soir publiquement le rapport de consultation sur le quartier sportif et donc la première étape vers la réalisation de la construction d'un nouveau centre sportif et communautaire. Le rapport indique clairement que les résidents sont en faveur d'un nouveau centre et l'attendent avec impatience. Council members have had the experts' conclusions and recommendations in their hands for 6 weeks now, and we've had a chance to discuss the report in caucus. We are working very hard to ensure that the project is done quickly, in the most efficient way, and at the lowest possible cost. Nous étudions sérieusement différentes options qui nous permettront d'avoir une bonne prévisibilité, d'assurer le maintien des services pendant la construction et d'avoir un meilleur contrôle des coûts. Nous reviendrons vers les résidents sous peu avec les prochaines étapes et décisions sur la réalisation de cette nouvelle infrastructure passionnante et majeure pour Ville-Mont-Royal. Le rapport sera sur le site Web dans les jours qui viennent. Nous avons entendu les commentaires émis et nous nous engageons à vous tenir au courant de l'avancement du dossier au fur et à mesure. The spectacle that took place this weekend with the club de patinage artistique de Ville-Mont-Royal. Un total de 274 patineurs étaient dans le spectacle, sans compter Nicolas Sorensen et Laurence Fournier-Baudry, les vedettes, qui représentent la CPA-VMR sur leur scène mondiale. Soutien de plus de 70 bénévoles et 15 entraîneurs qui ont aidé tout au long des 2 présentations. Sans eux, le spectacle ne serait pas possible. 923 spectateurs ont assisté au total, dont 534 le vendredi soir, un record. Si on compte les patineurs, entraîneurs et bénévoles, plus de 800 personnes regardaient le spectacle vendredi soir. Bravo au comité de patinage artistique et bravo à ceux qui ont participé dans le programme. C'est extraordinaire. Our Seniors Expo took place also this past weekend, and finally the Seniors Expo took place on Saturday at Schofield Hall and coordinated by Jan Lauer, hosted approximately 450 persons. Quite an amazing event and accomplishment, providing a wealth of information and services, all to the benefit of seniors and their families. Congratulations to Jan and all members of TMR staff that were there to support of the Expo. With this good news, I end my opening remarks and will now move on to the council agenda. Once again, thank you for being with us tonight. Bon conseil à tous. Bon, ça étant été dit, on a l'ouverture de la séance, on a, avant l'adoption, on a la période de questions.
Non, mais il y a l'adoption de l'ordre du jour.
Désolé, merci. L'adoption de l'ordre du jour, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, donc il est proposé au Conseil d'adopter l'ordre du jour de la séance ordinaire du Conseil du 25 avril 2023.
Merci beaucoup.
Je propose.
Merci.
J'appuie.
Merci. Je demande le vote, s'il vous plaît. À l'unanimité. Merci beaucoup. Alors là, on passe à la prochaine période de questions. Avant de commencer, j'aimerais faire un petit rappel selon les règlements de la période de questions. A person may appear one time during a question period, ask only one question and one sub-question. Ask a brief, clear question that includes only the words necessary to obtain the information requested. You have 90 seconds to do so, after which the microphone will be cut so that we can give a chance to other people to ask questions. Please state clearly your name and your address. It would be appreciated. Thank you very much.
Kathy Ely, 157 Cornwall. I've been coming to council since 1990. My question is about number 9 on the agenda. I'm talking about the Sports and Recreation Center. 4 days before the election, you said yes to it. We're not talking about the quartier sportif, I'm talking about the building itself. That was 4 days before the election. About 3 weeks after the election, at the very first council meeting, an item that was not on the agenda but was added at the beginning of the meeting was for the termination employment contract of the project manager for the Sports and Community Center. He had been working on the project for almost 3 years, but he was let go at the very first council meeting. Now, since that time, a year and a half later, almost, we have the quartier sportif, the consultation, which is on the agenda number 9. And it's regarding not just the center that we're supposed to be building, but everything between, let's say, Roosevelt and the high school on Montgomery, and Churchill and the train tracks at Dunkirk. So it's a huge space. I went through the meeting, I listened to it twice, February 1st and 2nd, I believe, and I kept looking to find out what's our new center going to be like.
Mrs. Ely, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the 90 seconds are up, and I would like you to ask your question.
Give me enough time to ask my question.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Ely, I want to stick to the rules that we have set in place, so you will have to ask your question right now.
Okay. When I saw the new center, I couldn't figure out what it was, and I asked Ava, why can't I see what it's going to be like? It's 3 stories, apparently, and she said, because there are no plans. I'm just wondering, how long is it going to take us before we get our center?
Thank you, Mrs. Ely. So, first of all, I'm not going to answer on behalf of Mrs. Couch, but Mrs. Couch will answer directly. We have just gone through a process with a brand new council. I'm going to give a little history, which is what I gave on the night of February 1st and February 2nd. Plans for a new recreation center started in 1985. And revisions have taken place since 1985 many, many times. I discussed this in detail with all the personnel here, Kevin Whitehall, his team at the Recreation Center. We finally arrived at a point with this new council and have discussed many, many differences that we had, but a common goal to produce a new sports and recreation and community center for the town. We've arrived at that point. We have presented visuals for the community. We've presented volumes for the community. We've gone out and we've asked the community for their feedback. We are depositing. The feedback was excellent for us. We have been discussing this at length, and our plan is to make an announcement as soon as possible as the direction that we're going to go in, and I'm hoping to accomplish this with a vote in caucus prior to our May 16th meeting so that we can announce it on May 16th. So that's the objective, and from there, we will move forward. So I believe that residents of TMR have been waiting since 1985, prior to you, Mrs. Ely, and I think that we're going to accomplish this now in this mandate. So a year and a half in is not too bad. Thank you. As regards to Mrs. Couch, you can respond, please, Mrs. Couch.
Yeah. No, Kathy, what you asked, I'm really sorry, is I've got the email. I pulled up the email in the meantime. You said that on the slide gives us an idea what the new building will look like. Can the details be expanded upon and printed online in local papers? Before the referendum for version 1, information was available to all residents with artist renderings of the different sections of the building, the activities in various areas, the entrance to the building, the number and location of the elevators, the location and types of pools. We need something similar as soon as possible. My answer to you was that the present proposal is not at the same stage as that of the previous when it was shown publicly. We have not yet gone to tender for professional plans, design, and specifications. There is no further info than what was presented and is on our website. With the previous project, what was shown was a more detailed design as we were getting ready to go to tender for construction. We are not there yet. So I didn't say to you, so the question and the answer was related to that, and it was not at that level. So that is exactly what I answered to you. We have not gone to that level of detail yet of the project, and that's what I answered you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. Romana Rogoshevska, 120 Balfour. I'll talk fast. 90 seconds is not much you can say. I'm a homeowner here for 30 years, so this question doesn't directly affect me, but it has to do with will you review your tax formula? It does impact apartment owners, more than 6 units, and the landlords and the tenants were outraged at the last meeting because of the high increase in the taxes. Some buildings have received 40% increase in their taxes. That is a collective impact because it falls also on the tenants whose rents will be raised. They will either have to leave because they cannot afford it, or there will be rent control issues coming in. That said, so what about Sejo? Sejo, however, this is public information, so it's not divulging any kind of state secrets here, but Sejo, their property valuation went up by the City of Montreal from approximately $8 million to $9 million. But the municipal taxes dropped by 1%, about $40,000. What kind of a formula is being applied to that? Meanwhile, single-family homes such as mine have had about a 6% increase. How did you arrive at the 47%, 43 to 47% for the apartment building owners? There's some disconnect. And just before I finish, regarding St. Peter's has finally gotten the permit to go ahead with whatever they're planning. They have not paid any taxes because it was
Mrs. Romano, I just want to state that you're making a statement and you're not asking a question.
The question is, and I go back again,
question, please,
will you review your tax formula? Why?
Mrs. Romano, I will answer you right now. The tax formula has been something that has been carried on in the municipality and all municipalities for more than 60 years. I'm going to answer your question, please. Number two, I'm not going to address Sejo because that's the Mrs. Romano, I'm not here to debate you. You ask a question, I will respond. Thank you. Regarding Mrs. Romano, I will answer you regarding the building owners. The building owners' valuations were assessed by the City of Montreal's assessment department. The average, what we did is we did an exhaustive study of 64 apartment complexes in town of Mont-Royal of multi-units. In that exhaustive study, we also consulted with the CMHC that do surveys of apartment building owners for their rentals, for their occupation, and for their vacancies. We got the most recent numbers from CMHC. We took the tax increases that were representative of town of Mont-Royal. We got the average amount of rent paid by a tenant. Average amount for 64 buildings was about $1,749 per month, which represented an increase of the tax bill from the town per tenant of 2.27%. The town's portion of the tenant's increase on the average was 2.27%. The average for single-family homes whose valuation was $1,944,000 was 6.92%. That is the answer to that. Residential owners have no deductions, cannot deduct costs, taxes, school taxes, or any other expenses. They have to pay it out of their pockets. Building owners are running a business. They benefit from it. When they end up selling their businesses, they can deduct all their expenses, and they can choose how much they want to pass through to their tenants. So the tax bill was not as egregious as was presented. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Councillors. Darlene Cattini, 45 Brittany. I had a question prepared. I don't know what you just said there with the math, but there's no way that we're only paying 2.2 whatever. I see a lot of my fellow neighbors here tonight too. We've all gotten our property, our increases. We're going to be paying 45% in my building. This is being passed on to us. Whatever you're telling me about expenses, deductions, it's all irrelevant. Last time you said that you spoke to someone in the TAL, I spoke to Arnold Bennett, who is the tenants' rights lawyer, and they fully have the right to pass on 100% of their increases. So we're getting stuck with this because of your taxation model. Now, I understand you're not doing anything about it this year, fine, but I just want to know one thing. Before you went ahead and adopted this taxation model, were you aware of how things work at the rental board, how they do their calculation, and what actually happens in a court hearing when you go to fix the rent?
Is that your question?
Yes. Did you
Okay,
know all
perfect.
that beforehand?
So I will answer your question. First of all, my numbers are accurate. The difference is what I explained was exactly the portion that a tenant, the percentage increase that a tenant would be paying for an increase in the tax bill for their rent. So in other words, if you're at $1,700 a month on average, your increase was 2.5% from TMR. If you're at $800 per month, your increase, depending on the building you're in, now this is on an average of 64 buildings, was 4.26% at $800. So the balance of it are pass-throughs, yes, from landlords because their valuations were increased. Maybe their expenses they pass through. I don't know what they're doing. We don't have control of what the landlords charge the tenants. They have every right to charge what they want, and they have every right not to charge. So I'm giving you what the town's portion represents. That's the most important thing. The reality... So take out, no, you're not paying a 45%. No, you're paying your proportionate share per tenant, as I explained to you. If you're paying $1,700 a month is about 2.5%. That represents the tax increase from the town. Deduct the 2.5% from the rest of your increase, and that represents how much the landlords are charging you for their expenses. No, that is not my math. That is math. But we won't debate this because I've answered your question. Mrs. Catini, thank you very much. You're advocating on behalf of business owners. I understand what you're saying. And I have to tell you that the math that I've done is extremely accurate. No, the math won't pay your bill, but I understand, Mrs. Catini, but I'm not here to no. No. Mrs. Catini, I'm sorry, you're going to have to leave the mic. We're not here to debate. We're not here to debate it. I'm very sorry, Mrs. Catini, but your math is not correct.
Bonjour, mon nom est Alex Bastien, je demeure au 11 avenue Jasper. Monsieur le maire, je m'adresse à vous aujourd'hui pour vous questionner par rapport au statut de ville bilingue que possède Ville Mont-Royal. Il y a quelques mois, le conseil municipal a voté pour la préservation du bilinguisme institutionnel à Ville Mont-Royal. Ce geste est lourd de sens, on soulignait même que le bilinguisme institutionnel représente une valeur fondamentale de Ville Mont-Royal. Je dis bien fondamentale. Rappelons que selon le dernier rapport de Statistique Canada, seuls 23% de la population de Ville-Mont-Royal est de langue maternelle anglaise. Nous ne sommes donc plus au stade de 23%, très loin de là. Le dossier de la langue est bien évidemment un dossier qui appartient à l'Assemblée nationale du Québec, mais les municipalités peuvent agir sur de nombreux plans, particulièrement lorsqu'elles ont le choix d'arrêter d'imposer un bilinguisme institutionnel lorsque leur réalité historique a considérablement changé et que la population anglophone ne représente plus la même proportion qu'auparavant. Ma question, Monsieur le maire, elle est donc bien simple. Face au déclin du français et considérant que la réalité historique de Ville-Mont-Royal a considérablement changé, pourquoi décider que Ville-Mont-Royal demeure une municipalité bilingue?
Merci pour votre question. On y croit au conseil que le multilinguisme est important dans la société. Ville-Mont-Royal a toujours desservi tous les membres de la population, les résidents de Ville-Mont-Royal qui parlent anglophone qui sont anglophones ou francophones. Et même si les pourcentages ont changé à Ville-Mont-Royal, de nombre d'anglophones qui sont enregistrés ici, je crois que c'est important de respecter de toutes les langues. Et en faisant ça, on respecte ça en étant bilingue. Et on va continuer à rester bilingue ici à Ville-Mont-Royal, comme plusieurs autres villiers sur l'île de Montréal. Et on trouve ça une richesse et une valeur qui est très importante pour tous les résidents. Et c'est la décision que le conseil a prise. Je ne pourrais pas répondre à cette question parce que je ne sais pas quelle sera la démographie de Ville-Mont-Royal dans 5 ou 10 ans. Ça pourra changer. Mais pour le moment, étant donné les faits que nous avons devant nous, on va continuer à être bilingue. Je ne suis pas quelqu'un qui peut se prononcer sur la favorisation d'une langue ou d'une autre. Je peux seulement être là pour respecter les besoins des résidents de Ville-Mont-Royal qui parlent anglais ou français. Pardon? Je ne suis pas dans ce débat et je ne peux pas me prononcer là-dessus. Je ne peux pas prendre une position là-dessus, désolé. Je suis ici pour les résidents de Ville-Mont-Royal, c'est municipal. Vous pouvez demander cette question peut-être à l'Assemblée nationale de Québec. Avec plaisir. Avec plaisir. Merci.
OK? Je peux y aller? Claude Demers, 536 Dawson.
Bonsoir.
Lors de la dernière réunion, M. le maire, vous avez dit « Town needs to be very neutral. Major says during religious symbol exchange." Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay, now my question. Why do you let a preacher write an article every week in the newspaper, and some of these articles sometimes take over 25% of the editorial content? They talk about what made the devil fall. What difference does Easter make? And the king, the best one, did Jesus plan his own death? Ooh. Now, Mr. Mayor, why don't you stop that? It's ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Do you agree it's ridiculous?
Let me respond to you, Mr. Demers. Thank you for the question. I find it very interesting and actually very entertaining. Quite frankly, these are papers that I have no control over their content. They're editorializing what they put in them, etc. So I don't control the media. But they put that headline for other municipalities that they serve as well. So they choose to put it. The best person to ask that question to would be the editor of the TMR Post and or one of his representatives who's sitting to your right. Yes. Well, there are many publications. I find this very interesting, but it's interesting. But I find there are many publications globally that print all kinds of stuff. I can't really pronounce myself and say that I am in favor or not in favor of something. Like you said, I have to remain neutral. Boy, I know that. Thank you.
The microphone seems to be. The mic's on.
Je m'excuse, attendez, s'il vous plaît, pouvez-vous allumer le micro?
C'est ici? Non.
Non, je pense que c'est de l'autre côté. Désolé. Sorry, it's going to come. No, it's not on for some reason. Yeah, if I could just get your name while we're doing that. Could I get your name, please?
My name is Albert Yohanan.
Yes, and where do you live?
I live at 45 Brittany, down in Mont-Royal.
Okay.
I have a question for you. Ms. Catini lives in the same building, she just spoke to you. My rent is $958 a month. How much will be the raise?
I'm sorry, how much is your rent?
$958 a month.
Okay.
How much will be I pay the raise? How much extra I have to pay?
Yes, Mr. Albert, I have that spreadsheet, but not on me here. I have it in my office, and I could be happy to email you back what your rent is.
He's asking $90 a month more. According to your calculation, the way you're talking to Ms. Catini, it comes to $42 a month.
No, what I'm saying, sir, is that the portion of the increase represented by the tax increase from Town of Mont-Royal for $900 would be somewhere in the order of 3.5%.
3.5%? She's asking 40%.
How much?
40% she's asking us.
Well, I'm just telling you what TMR's portion is about 3.5%.
And how much the rental owner add to that?
You're going to have to ask.
Yes,
you're going to have to ask the rental owner that question. But I could tell you.
We go to the rental board, we get nothing out of that, nothing.
But I could tell you the percentage increase from Town of Mont-Royal for a $985 I'm just going off the top of my head, is about 3.5%. That's the town's portion of your increase. The rest of it is your landlord's.
So my landlord is adding double what you want. What you're asking, he's asking a double. I mean, who has to pay the whole thing? Us or the owner of the building?
The portion represented by the tax increase is charged by Town of Mont-Royal. The rest of the expenses that are deductible expenses for owners that they charge to their tenant is their choice.
But they're asking double what you're asking us. Double, exactly double.
So if I mean,
where is the right, where is the wrong? Where should we go? I mean, there's no way to go to complain about this.
I'm going to give you a comparison, as I mentioned earlier. The average residential home in Town of Mont-Royal.
I have an apartment.
The average value. I know you're a renter, but I just want to tell you what their increase is and how they don't have any deductible expenses. So the average value, as stated in our report to residents, is the average value of homes is $1.9 million. The average value, the average increase that home received is 6.92% for that home.
Okay.
If your value was higher, it was much greater. If your value was lower, it was lower than 6.92% of your home. But these homeowners do not get to deduct their taxes, their school taxes, nor their operating expenses, nor their repair bills, nor anything that has to do with the care and maintenance of their home. A building owner has every right to deduct municipal taxes, school taxes, operating expenses, capital expenses, all that stuff. They have all those deductions available to them. What they choose to pass on to tenants is their choice. We know what our increase represents per tenant. As I said, if you're paying $985, it's about $3. And I will give you an accurate number. If you give me your email address, I'll send you back all the calculations.
I'd like it specifically in writing because I have to answer my landlord
Sure.
soon.
I will be happy to do
I'll give you my email. It's
Yeah,
Albert.
well, I tell you what, if you don't mind,
Give it to the public security
if
at
you
the
can
front
give it to
door.
the public security in the back, that'll be perfect.
I'm sorry, security?
Yeah, they'll take it down for
Okay,
you.
so you will answer me because I'm waiting for an answer because nobody helping us at all.
100%.
I mean, we go to Reggie, there's no answer. We come here, there's no answer. So where are we? Are we living in a democratic country or not?
Understood. Just to put a final pin in this, I know what the increase is from Town of Mont-Royal. The difference between what we've increased and what you're being charged is on the back, is what the landlord, the owners are charging you. Okay? Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, Mr. Albert, I did respond to another resident
In 45.
in 45 Brittany, a Mrs. Rossetti.
Rosati.
Rosati. Yeah, 45. At 40, I responded to her this week, as a matter of fact. 45 Brittany, and I gave her all the facts.
Last night, I think.
Last night. I gave her an answer last night on all this that you're asking. Do you know Mrs. Rosati? Rosati. She's in your building. Okay. Yeah. I gave her an answer last night, yeah. Yeah, perfect. You're welcome. Let me take that out. Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Mayor and councilors. I want to get back.
I'm sorry, your name, please, sir?
Henry Rossi from
Oh, yes.
the Rossi family.
And you're a resident where, please?
Pardon? On Paris Avenue, 5693 Paris.
Okay. Yeah.
90 seconds is kind of short, okay? I will get back to the gentleman about the RN form. We are property owners. We've been in the town of Mont-Royal since 1970, so I think I have a little more rights than 90 seconds, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Rossi, I'll just tell you what, I'll give you more than 90 seconds, but I have PTSD from that evening when a couple other property owners came up and started yelling and screaming and all that.
I'm not going to yell. No, I'm not going to yell.
That's perfect. Guy.
Now-
And civil decorum is always great.
Now, our properties were increased by 46%.
And you know where that comes from.
Well, listen, you could sing and dance as much as you want. The problem is our tenants are getting hammered right now. I don't mind. I make a living. We're successful business people. It's not fair to pass it to the tenants. We're getting an average of about 10% increase right now. Now, coming back to what the gentleman said about the rental board form, one of my daughters, we fill out the form to the T, to the penny. We ask $2 less than what we're entitled to. The application fee costs $83. We have to pay for this. If they contest the increase, we go to the rental board, like you said, you advise the tenants to go fight the landlord at the rental board. We have half the tenants fighting us. You know how much time it takes? Some tenants come an hour and a half in our office to look at our bills, and everything is kosher to the penny. Now, when the judgment is rendered, we get our increase to the penny, plus the tenants have to reimburse us the $83 fee. It's a huge amount for these poor people. You know, it's not fair, Mr. Mayor. That's all I have to say. You know, I have some tenants that have to move because of that. Now, we have been doing a lot of renovations in our building. Like you said, it's a landlord's choice, but it is a business. And we pass on the expenses to the tenants.
Yes.
I feel bad. Now, we are not the bad people.
No.
My family, the Rossi family, okay, we have a very clean, reputable name.
Mr. Rossi, are you getting to a question? Because I'd love to answer your question.
Well, how can it that some buildings, some properties, 1320 Graham, got a decrease of $40,000?
1320 Graham is not a residential building.
No, it's a commercial.
But one has nothing to do with the other.
Of course not, but
you're mixing apples.
Listen, Mr. Mayor, the increase, okay, the rates should be even all over the board.
Well, they're not, and I'll explain to you why. Because if you look at different municipalities, they have a different factor that they apply for building property owners of sixplexes and more who are running a business. As you said, you're running a business. Now, as I explained, and I have all the calculations for all the buildings, what the actual average rental increase is based on, I took CMHC numbers because they do surveys of all the building owners, as you well know, and the average amount of increase at $1,749 from CMHC is 2.4%. That's our portion. That's TMR's portion of the increase, 2.4%. So you can blame us all you want, but our portion is 2.4%. But yet a residential owner, as I mentioned, the average is 6.92%.
But, Mr. Mayor,
yes,
a lot of the property, the homeowners, okay, in the town of listen, my dad used to say, okay, location, location, location.
Yep.
Right now, town of Mont-Royal, I'm not really impressed or proud of it right now. And I was born almost in the town of Mont-Royal. Now,
makes two of us.
I understand that you're using your equations or whatever. I'm very bad in math, okay? But our taxes went up 46%. No matter how you try to explain it.
No, I tell you what I will do for
Now you're picking a homeowner that's a multimillionaire against a poor little tenant.
Well, hold on a second. I don't think I'm pitting a homeowner against a tenant. Wow. And I don't think we want to get into the debate of property valuations and all that stuff because building owners also can be characterized as multimillionaires. Okay,
Look, Mr. Mayor,
I'm not characterizing anybody.
Close to 50 years in apartment building owners. For the last 40, 50 years, I've been chasing my tail. It's been so hard. Okay, when the interest rates went up to 21%. Okay, I think even TMR sees a couple of our buildings. Lucky I had my other company to bail us out. So when you talk about selling whatever, there's always capital gains. There's a lot of problems with all that. All I ask, Mr. Mayor,
yes,
all I ask, okay, is the town should have been a little more, not for me. I make a good living, so I'm not worried about the tenants. You understand? But they're suffering right now.
Okay, but you see, what you're doing is you're putting the onus on the town, and I guess we'll bring this to a closure right now. And as I explained to you, if TMR's portion of the increase on average is 2.4%, that's not a huge increase. Listen, your groceries alone, when I went to Statistics Canada, and I took out the numbers for what the groceries increase year over year, groceries, 9.7% if you go to a grocery store. I mean, are you going to blame me for groceries as well? 2.4%. And I'd be happy, Mr. Rossi, to share with you all of my calculations, more than happy to share it with you and show you those numbers. But I really do not feel that it is fair that you blame Town of Mont-Royal for an increase of 2.4% and say I'm driving tenants out of buildings, because that's not what I'm doing, and I will never say, and I will never agree to the statement that I'm pitting people who are property owners against tenants.
Well,
that is not fair.
The last meeting that listen, Mr. Mayor, I've never come to a town council meeting. I don't have time for this.
Don't blame me.
The only reason why I'm coming now, is to try to do something for the tenants. That's all. I'm getting nothing out of this.
Okay, but as I said to you, and I think we'll bring this to an end right now, I will be happy to meet with you, Mr. Rossi, and I will show you my numbers, and then you'll see what I mean.
Now, just one last point.
Is it a question?
One of our buildings on Plymouth Avenue.
I'm sorry?
One of our properties on Plymouth Avenue, an apartment building, the taxes are, in 2022, were $19,518. Now they went up to $28,689. That represents a 46.98% increase. It's a big increase.
But you do recognize what a major portion of your increase, where it comes from. You do recognize that. It's from your property valuation, right? What is the value of your property as of today?
Yeah, but you do realize that should never happen that way then.
I have no control over that.
Really?
That's the city of Montreal.
You have control over lowering other people's taxes.
We didn't do that. We didn't do that. We balance out our bills. We have to provide the services for all the residents in TMR. We really cut and worked very hard on a budget. It was very difficult. Council was very attentive to that.
Well, Mr.
So
Mayor,
as I said, Mr. Rossi, if you would like to make an appointment.
You guys should reconsider everything along with all your councilors.
It's not going to be the case. I think it's better for you to understand what we came to, so I'm more than happy to meet with you. How's that? Well, hey, listen. People who want to understand things, I will show you how we calculated things. And you will see what the actual increase is from Town of Mont-Royal. And as I said to you, an average of $1,749 per month rent comes to 2.4% increase. So I'm happy to go over the numbers.
Well, anyway, okay.
And I will show you the numbers for each one of your apartment buildings.
Pardon?
I will show you the numbers for each one of your apartment buildings. I'm happy to do that. This will be the last question, please. And please, if you don't mind, I gave Mr. Rossi more leniency. If it's about the tenants and the rate increases, I've answered all the questions there. If it's about something else, I'm more than happy to answer it.
It's about something else.
Very good. Thank you.
I'm not sure it's a good something else, but it's something else. Bonjour, Monsieur le maire, Mesdames et Messieurs les conseillers, merci pour le temps que vous mettez.
Vous êtes qui, madame?
Cathy, avenue Portland.
Cathy qui?
Je vous en ferai part par la suite. Je ne veux pas en parler publiquement vu la nature de ma profession. Je peux déposer mon nom et mon adresse.
Oui, et votre adresse, c'est quoi, s'il vous plaît?
Avenue Portland.
Portland, merci.
Donc voilà, je voulais vous parler de l'église. Je voulais vous parler de l'église Saint-Peter's. Donc, sachant qu'il y a un mandat officiel dans le registre des lobbyistes depuis au moins avril 2022, d'un lobbyiste qui a été engagé par le promoteur immobilier propriétaire maintenant de l'église Saint-Peter. Ma question, c'est est-ce que cette personne a approché la ville à ce sujet depuis avril 2022? Quand je dis approcher, je veux dire, est-ce qu'il y a eu des rencontres formelles, informelles entre cette personne et vous, Monsieur le maire, ou Madame la directrice générale, ou toute autre direction, telle que Génie ou autre, au sujet d'une démolition ou d'un changement de zonage pour des condominiums?
Parfait. Depuis quelle date encore?
Au moins avril 2022.
Avril 2022.
Et quand j'ai consulté le registre aujourd'hui,
je n'ai pas les dates, mais si quelqu'un est enregistré comme un lobbyiste et on leur demande est-ce que vous êtes enregistré comme un lobbyiste, ça ne nous évite pas de les rencontrer, comme vous le savez.
Ma question, c'est avez-vous rencontré?
Est-ce qu'on l'a rencontré concernant St. Peter's? Pas moi.
Vous n'avez pas eu, personne dans le conseil, vous voulez dire, n'a rencontré?
Je réponds comme président de cette assemblée qu'il n'y a personne dans le conseil qui a rencontré un lobbyiste de la part de Sejo que je connais sur le projet que vous parlez de St. Peter's.
Et Madame la directrice?
Non, je n'ai
Vous non plus, vous n'avez pas eu de rencontre formelle ou informelle, personne de la part?
Pas sur le dossier de St. Peter's.
Rien eu sur le dossier de St. Peter's? Très bien. Alors, je prends note, d'accord. Pour donner ensuite la suite de ma question, c'est vous avez parlé d'un nouveau plan d'urbanisme pour la ville. Donc, ma question, c'est avez-vous l'intention, dans votre nouveau plan d'urbanisme, de changer le zonage du site de l'église Saint-Peter pour faire un spot zoning ou quelque chose dans le genre?
Vous habitez sur la rue Portland, OK, parfait. Notre plan d'urbanisme n'est pas finalisé. On s'est rencontrés sur le plan d'urbanisme et le but du plan d'urbanisme, c'est d'avoir une vision globale de Ville Mont-Royal et de ne pas faire du spot zoning. Alors, si je pourrais vous dire, si on décide en conseil, avec ce conseil, qu'on trouve que tel emplacement devrait être développé en condominium ou en appartement, et ça fait partie de notre plan, notre vision globale, on va le faire.
Alors, avez-vous considéré un zonage pour des étages multiples ou des maisons unifamiliales pour ce site?
Sur quel site?
Église Saint-Peter's.
Vous êtes fixé sur Église Saint-Peter's?
Oui.
On n'a pas, et je ne sais pas pourquoi, mais anyways, on n'a pas de plan pour Saint-Peter's.
Vous n'avez
on n'est pas approché sur St. Peter's, on n'a rien. Alors, je ne peux pas répondre à votre question parce qu'on n'a pas on n'était pas approché sur St. Peter's.
Donc, si vous êtes, parce que vous dites, si on est approché, on va décider.
Vous avez demandé, comme j'ai expliqué, une question puis une question de suivi. Vous demandez,
oui,
là, ça devient, écoutez, ça devient une interrogation, ce que vous faites.
Non, je veux aller
J'aimerais vous dire que j'ai répondu à vos questions. On n'a pas de contact avec St. Peter's. On n'a pas eu de plan de changement de zonage. On n'a pas eu rien de cette compagnie ou développeur. Alors, je ne sais pas
Vous n'avez pas entendu ma prochaine question, qui fait partie du même ensemble de questions. Je comprends que
c'est la dernière
m'appelle pas
question.
Rossi, je m'appelle autre chose, mais M. Rossi a eu 4 minutes, j'ai timé de temps de parole. On ne lui a pas coupé son microphone.
Oui, et je pense que j'ai
On lui a
fait
pas coupé
ça
son microphone.
en respect pour M. Rossi parce qu'il est venu. Il a des appartements, il a des enjeux avec ses locataires. Il voulait comprendre, alors j'ai respecté ça. Alors j'ai répondu à vos questions concernant St. Peter's.
Non, j'ai une dernière question.
Quelle est votre question?
Allez-vous consulter la population de Ville-Mont-Royal avant de prendre une décision?
Je vais consulter mon conseil avant de prendre une décision.
Donc, ça va être décidé, le conseil, sans consultation de la ville?
On n'a pas dit ça. Il y a des procédures qu'on fait concernant des changements de zonage ou des projets. Alors, comme vous le savez...
Pas clair, je n'ai pas compris.
Il y a des procédures qu'on...
Quelle procédure? Est-ce que vous allez consulter la population?
Madame, j'ai répondu à vos questions. Si vous voulez vous informer de plus, je suis très heureux. Envoyez-moi un courriel et je vais répondre à toutes vos questions.
Allez-vous me rencontrer aussi?
Pardon?
Pourrez-vous me rencontrer si je vous demande
Si j'ai le temps, peut-être.
Je n'aurai pas le temps.
C'est ça.
C'est bien.
Bonne soirée. Bon, ça termine la période de questions. Alors, on passe à l'ordre du jour. Le greffier, on est prêt? Parfait. Parfait. Alors, on passe à résolution. Adoption of minutes of March 21st, 2023's regular meeting.
Donc, attendu que copie du procès-verbal de la réunion ordinaire du 21 mars 2023 du conseil municipal de Ville-Mont-Royal ont été remises à chaque membre du conseil dans le délai prévu à l'article 333 de la loi sur les cités et villes, le greffier est dispensé d'en faire la lecture. Il est donc proposé au conseil d'adopter le procès-verbal de la réunion ordinaire du 21 mars 2023 du conseil municipal de Ville-Mont-Royal.
Désolé, pour ceux qui veulent parler dans la salle, pourriez-vous quitter la salle parce que ça dérange le processus ici, s'il vous plaît? Merci beaucoup. Je m'excuse. Silence dans la salle, s'il vous plaît. Silence dans la salle, s'il vous plaît. Continuez, Monsieur le greffier.
C'est terminé, ça me prendrait un propos.
Merci beaucoup. Bon. Merci.
Je propose.
Merci.
J'appuie.
Merci beaucoup. Je demande le vote, s'il vous plaît. À l'unanimité. Merci beaucoup. Prochaine idée, dépôt des documents.
Donc, ce soir, nous déposons les documents suivants. La liste des commandes de moins de 20 000 la liste des commandes de moins de 50 000 la liste des achats sans émission de bons de commande, la liste des chèques et des dépôts directs, un rapport du service des ressources humaines et la liste des permis et certificats émis.
Merci beaucoup. Alors, on passe au prochain item qui est the auction sale.
Donc, ce soir, nous proposons au conseil d'autoriser la greffière adjointe à procéder à une vente à l'encan des bicyclettes abandonnées sur le domaine public et détenues par la Ville pendant plus de 60 jours et des biens municipaux désuets, cette vente devant être précédée d'un avis public afin de permettre aux personnes concernées de récupérer leurs biens abandonnés avant la vente qui sera tenue le samedi 3 juin 2023 à 10 h. D'autoriser la donation des items qui ne seront pas vendus à des organismes sans but lucratif ou, à défaut, à des personnes pouvant récupérer ou recycler les items. Et finalement, d'autoriser en tout dernier lieu la destruction des biens qui ne pourront être vendus ou donnés.
Merci.
I move the motion.
Je l'appuie.
May I have a vote, please? Unanimous. Thank you. Following item. Bon, ça, c'est demande de subvention programme aide au projet. Volet appel des projets et développement des collections.
We submit to Council to authorize the submission of a grant application to the ministère de la Culture et des Communications du Québec as part of the program Aide au projet, volet appel des projets en développement des collections des bibliothèques publiques autonomes for the fiscal year 2023, and to authorize Mr. Denis Chouinard, Head of Division, Library, or in his absence, Mr. Kevin Whitehall, Director of the Recreation, Culture, and Community Activities Department, to complete all documents required for this application, including the grant agreement to be made with the Ministère de la Culture et des Communications, and to authorize Mrs. Ava Couch, Director General, to sign the pertinent documents related to this request.
Je propose.
J'appuie.
Merci. Je demande le vote, s'il vous plaît. À l'unanimité, merci. Bon, prochaine résolution, ça c'est demande au gouvernement du Québec, sécurité des piétons, cyclistes et autres usagers de la route aux abords des écoles.
Attendu que les enfants piétons ou cyclistes sont plus vulnérables que les adultes piétons ou cyclistes, alors que ces modes de transport leur permettent de se déplacer de manière autonome vers l'école. Attendu que la promotion des déplacements actifs entre la maison et l'école auprès des jeunes devrait être privilégiée, car les déplacements actifs sont bénéfiques et permettent l'interaction, la socialisation et favorisent l'autonomie et la santé physique. De plus, le transport actif ne produit aucune émission polluante. Attendu que le Conseil accorde une très grande importance au bien-être et à la sécurité des enfants, il est donc soumis au Conseil de demander au gouvernement provincial d'augmenter rapidement et significativement le budget accordé à l'aménagement de mesures de sécurisation prouvées et efficaces autour des écoles du Québec.
Merci.
Je propose.
Merci.
J'appuie.
Merci beaucoup. Je demande le vote, s'il vous plaît. À l'unanimité, merci beaucoup. Bon. Quartier sportif et communautaire, consultation, consultant report.
We submit to Council to acknowledge the report on the quartier sportif et communautaire consultation dated March 2023 as prepared by Morin Affaires Publiques, and to mandate the administration to put in place a communication action plan to present residents with the next steps in the process for the realization of the Sports and Community Center project, and thus continue to keep residents informed on the advancement of the project.
Thank you.
I move the resolution.
Thank you.
I second the motion.
Have a vote, please. Unanimous. Thank you. Radiation des comptes à recevoir de la Ville de Montréal.
Il est proposé au Conseil de radier des livres de la Ville de Mont-Royal la somme de 22 986,78 plus intérêts et pénalités, représentant les taxes foncières imposées sur l'immeuble du 160 chemin Bates, exempt de taxes dont la Ville est propriétaire depuis 2019.
Merci.
Je le propose.
Merci.
J'appuie.
Merci. Je demande le vote, s'il vous plaît. À l'unanimité, merci. Ratification of disbursements for the period of March 1st to March 31st.
We submit to Council to confirm and approve the disbursements for the period between March 1st to March 31st, 2023. Payroll, $2,061,420. Suppliers and other payments, $2,165,918. Function expenses, Council and Town Manager, $201. CMM share, $465,197. Insurance, $235,764. Financing costs, $157,414. Principal reimbursement for the long-term debt, $701,000, for a total disbursements of $5,786,914.
Thank you.
Je propose.
Merci.
J'appuie.
Merci beaucoup. Je demande le vote. À l'unanimité. Merci beaucoup. Fourniture d'enrobés bitumineux pour l'année 2023.
Il est proposé au Conseil d'autoriser une dépense de 165 970 $, taxes incluses, en 2023 pour la fourniture d'enrobés bitumineux comprenant tous les frais accessoires le cas échéant. D'accorder à Construction DJL Incorporée le contrat portant le numéro C-2023-45 à cette fin, au prix unitaire soumis, conformément au document d'appel d'offres préparé pour ce contrat, et d'imputer cette dépense au budget de fonctionnement 2023.
Je propose.
Merci.
C'est moi. Je m'excuse. J'étais dispersée. J'appuie.
Merci beaucoup. Je demande le vote, s'il vous plaît. Merci. À l'unanimité. Delivery and supply for one new pickup truck, 2023 or more recent.
We submit to Council to authorize an expense of $73,184.08, taxes included, for the supply and delivery of one new pickup truck, year 2023 or newer, including the accessory costs, to modify the 2023 triennial expenditure program for project number 2023-320-02 by increasing the budgetary credit from $65,000 to $66,826.82. To authorize a loan of $73,184.08 from the working fund to cover this capital expenditure and to reimburse this amount over a 5-year period. To award the contract to contract number SME 2023-10 to GM Payé Berthierville in the amount of $72,584.08, taxes included, in accordance with the tendering documents, and to charge the expenditure to the working fund amortized over a 5-year period.
Thank you.
I move the resolution.
Thank you.
J'appuie.
Merci. Can I have a vote, please? Unanimous. Thank you. Modification de la résolution 23-03-11, renouvellement d'Office Microsoft 365.
Attendu que la résolution numéro 23-03-11 a été adoptée par le conseil municipal le 21 mars 2023, attendu que cette résolution doit être modifiée, il est proposé au conseil de modifier la résolution numéro 23-03-11 adoptée le 23 mars 2023 par le remplacement du deuxième paragraphe du dispositif par les paragraphes suivants. Donc, les deux nouveaux paragraphes iront comme suit. D'accorder le contrat numéro 1 pour l'acquisition d'un nouveau contrat de Microsoft 365 qui inclut Exchange Online P2, EMS E3 et Defender O365 P1 à Microsoft Corporation au prix unitaire et forfaitaire listé au catalogue du Centre d'acquisition gouvernementale, donc le CAG, courtier infonuagique, soit au prix total de 256 293,07 taxes incluses, le tout conformément aux documents et de l'entente cadre conclue avec le CAG, et d'entériner le choix de mandater la firme Soft Choice Corporation à titre de conseiller logiciel pour la ville de Mont-Royal.
Merci.
Je propose.
Merci.
J'appuie.
Et je demande le vote, s'il vous plaît. À l'unanimité, merci beaucoup. Construction of Royal Garden Park.
We submit to council to authorize an expense for the amount of $840,000, taxes included, for the construction of the Royal Garden Park, which includes as needed all accessory costs, to award the lowest bidder, Construction Urbex, Inc., the contract for this purpose at the lump sum and unit prices submitted of $764,727.93, taxes included, in accordance with the tendering documents, to award le groupe Élise Beauregard et collaborateurs, Inc., the landscape architecture work supervision mandate for the fixed prices submitted for a total of $5,662.52, taxes included, to award MLC Associate, Inc., the civil engineering work supervision mandate at the unit and lump sum prices submitted for a total of $20,695.50, taxes included, and to charge the expenses of this project to loan bylaw E1903, amortized over a period of 20 years, and to the Park Fund.
Thank you.
Je propose la résolution.
I second.
Thank you. May I have a vote, please? Unanimous. Thank you. Travaux d'électricité dans les bâtiments municipaux.
Il est proposé au conseil d'autoriser une dépense de 50 200 $ taxes incluses pour la période du 1er juillet au 31 décembre 2023 pour les travaux d'électricité dans les bâtiments municipaux comprenant tous les frais accessoires le cas échéant. D'autoriser une dépense de 50 200 $ taxes incluses pour la période du 1er janvier au 30 juin 2024 pour les travaux d'électricité dans divers bâtiments municipaux comprenant tous les frais accessoires les cas échéants. D'accorder à la compagnie Avtech Incorporée le contrat numéro C-2023-14 au prix unitaire soumis de 91 244,16 taxes incluses pour la période du 1er juillet 2023 au 30 juin 2024, conformément au document d'appel d'offres, et d'imputer les dépenses associées à ce contrat au budget de fonctionnement 2023 et 2024.
Merci.
Je propose.
Merci.
J'appuie.
Merci beaucoup. Je demande le vote, s'il vous plaît. À l'unanimité. Merci beaucoup. Repair and reconstruction of green spaces.
We submit to council to authorize an expenditure of $54,300, taxes included, for the year 2023 for the repair and reconstruction of green spaces, including all incidental costs as needed, to award to 9196-0666 Québec, Inc., Aménagement Paysager Bellevue, the contract for this purpose at the unit prices submitted for a total amount of $49,353.02, taxes included, all in accordance with the tendering documents, and to charge the expenses related to this contract to the 2023 operating budget.
Thank you.
Je propose.
Merci.
J'appuie.
Merci. Je demande le vote. À l'unanimité. Merci beaucoup. Réfection partielle de la toiture toit vert de la bibliothèque 2023.
Donc, il est proposé au conseil d'autoriser une dépense de 6 000 $ taxes incluses pour les services professionnels liés à la réfection partielle de la toiture, donc pour le toit vert, de la bibliothèque, comprenant tous les frais accessoires le cas échéant. D'accorder à la compagnie Ingetech Expert en bâtiment le contrat portant le numéro BA-771-TT au prix forfaitaire soumis de 4 972,67 taxes incluses, conformément au document du contrat de gré à gré, et d'imputer les dépenses de ce contrat au règlement d'emprunt numéro E-2201.
Merci.
Je propose la résolution.
Merci.
Je l'appuie.
Merci. Une demande de vote, s'il vous plaît. À l'unanimité. Merci beaucoup. Bon, Professional Services, Supervision of Infrastructure Works.
We submit to council to authorize an expense for the amount of $121,200, taxes included, for the professional services for supervision of infrastructure works, which includes as needed all accessory costs, to award to Solmatec Inc. the contract SPCS Surveillance des Travaux to undertake these works with the unit prices submitted for the total amount of $117,217.01, taxes included, all in accordance with the tendering documents, and to charge the expenditures associated with this contract to loan bylaws E2303, E2304, E2104 with various amortization periods.
Thank you.
Je propose cette résolution.
Merci.
J'appuie la résolution.
Merci. Can I have a vote, please? Unanimous. Thank you. Next item is fourniture et livraison de pierres concassées.
Donc, il est proposé au Conseil d'autoriser la modification de la résolution portant le numéro 23-03-18 en remplaçant les dates d'exécution du contrat initialement établi, qui était du 1er avril 2023 au 31 mars 2024, en les remplaçant par les dates suivantes, donc du 1er mars 2023 au 29 février 2024.
Je le propose.
Merci.
J'appuie.
Merci. Je demande le vote, s'il vous plaît. À l'unanimité. Merci. Bon, on passe là. Famous CCU recommendations.
We submit to council to approve the PIIA plans that have been the subject of a favorable recommendation from the CCU at its virtual meeting held on March 24, 2023. Plan number 1, 336 Ellerton, for presentation of the sample of the coloring of the wood covering. Plan number 4, 71 Roselawn, for paint residence, replacement of soffits and gutters. Plan numéro 5, 569 Stansted, pour agrandissement au-dessus du garage, remplacement de la porte de façade et de la porte de garage sous la réserve suivante. L'option A est approuvée. Plan numéro 7, 47 Lazare, pour modification au PIA. Plan number 8, 3070 Graham, for PIIA modification, chimney removal. Plan number 9, 461 Stansted, for extension, subject to the following. A brick window sill shall be added to the dormer windows on the rear facade. Plan numéro 13, 533 Algonquin, pour modification au PIA accepté, fenêtre en façade. Plan numéro 15, 5687 Paris, pour modification au PIA accepté. Plan number 16, 1600 Norway, for accepted PIIA modification, coloration and material of the vertical cladding on the front facade. Plan number 17, 2445 Sunset, for repair of backyard balconies. Plan numéro 18, 43 Wicksteed, pour travaux au niveau du perron, sous les réserves suivantes. Les barottins horizontaux ne sont pas conformes, prévoir des barottins verticaux. Le garde-corps doit être peint pour s'agencer à la maison et ne peut rester en bois naturel. To refuse the PIIA plans that have been the subject of a non-favorable recommendation of the CCU at its virtual meeting held on March 24, 2023. Plan number 15, 2090 Cambridge, for repair of the facades, not favorable due to the following. The openings are disproportionate and the hierarchy does not work. Use the original plans for modulation, type, and size of windows. Retain the stone at the rear. Review the proposal for the 3 windows on the rear wall versus the proposed gesture, which is too strong. Review the color palette to better match the existing stone, CLS dark, and warmer color. D'approuver les plans d'implantation et d'intégration architecturale ayant fait l'objet d'une recommandation favorable du CCU lors de la réunion virtuelle tenue le 11 avril 2023. Plan numéro 2, 135 Cornwall, pour remplacement de quelques fenêtres, modification mineure à l'entrée, sous la réserve suivante. S'assurer que les nouvelles fenêtres sont de type guillotine et de couleur brun commercial, à l'exception des fenêtres de la véranda avant. Plan number 4, 304 Trenton, for window modifications. Plan number 6, 2305 Rockland, for modification of the Renault Bré sign. Plan numéro 7, 2325 Acres pour escalier extérieur. Plan numéro 10, 135 Kenniston, pour conversion de la véranda avant existante en espace habitable, agrandissement en arrière et ajout d'une lucarne. Plan number 12, 2235 Kildare, for replacement of a window and patio door on the rear facade and extension of a window on the side facade. Plan number 14, 220 Lockhart, for extension at the back wall. Plan numéro 15, 123 Dobie, pour nouvelle porte patio en cour arrière, obturation de la sortie de sous-sol et démolition de la terrasse arrière sous la réserve suivante. Les deux portes devront être du même modèle. Des plans révisés sont requis. Plan number 16, 975 Moncrief, for replacement of a door by a patio door and enlargement of a window on the ground floor in the backyard, subject to the following reservations. Existing and proposed elevations are required for project analysis. Specify the planned framing around the new door. Some space must be provided between the new patio door and existing bay window. Any modification of the existing bay window must be subject of a resolution as well as the future terrace. Plan number 17, 1670 Norway, for replacement of a door by a patio door and enlargement of a window on the ground floor in the backyard. To refuse the PIA plans that have been the subject of a non-favorable recommendation of the CCU at its virtual meeting held on April 11, 2023. Plan number 9, 443 Ellerton, for modification of the approved PIA concerning the roof dormers, non-favorable for the following reason. Even at the rear wall, a split topology must remain as a split, and the addition of dormers disproportionates the volumetry of a split. Plan numéro 18, 247 Chester, pour nouvelle clôture sur l'eau de coin, selon les motifs suivants. La clôture proposée ne correspond pas à un style résidentiel. Le rendu en couleur n'est pas représentatif de la fiche technique du produit. Le style de clôture est trop opaque et devient un mur. Plan number 19, 316 Barton, for modification of the facades and window for the following reasons. The committee maintains all the previous comments on the black coloring, refused as too contrasting and lacking integration.
Merci beaucoup. Bon.
Solution?
Je l'appuie.
Merci beaucoup. Je demande le vote, s'il vous plaît. Merci. À l'unanimité. Merci beaucoup. Bon, prochain, c'est dépôt, avis de motion et adoption du premier projet de règlement numéro 1467.
Je dépose le projet de règlement numéro 1467 relatif à l'entretien et à l'occupation des bâtiments et donne avis de motion qu'il sera présenté pour adoption à une séance subséquente.
Donc, toujours dans le même objet, il va être proposé d'adopter le premier projet de règlement numéro 1467 relatif à l'entretien et à l'occupation des bâtiments et de tenir, conformément à la loi sur l'aménagement et l'urbanisme, une assemblée publique relativement à ce projet, à son contenu et aux conséquences de son adoption le 9 mai 2023 à 17 h.
Merci.
Je le propose.
Merci.
J'appuie.
Merci. Je demande le vote, s'il vous plaît. À l'unanimité. Merci beaucoup. Prochain, c'est First Draft Bylaw number 1435-2 to amend Bylaw number 1435 with respect to demolition of immovables regards to fine amounts.
Je dépose le projet de règlement numéro 1435-2, modifiant le règlement 1435 régissant la démolition des immeubles en ce qui a trait au montant des amendes et donne avis de motion qu'il sera présenté pour adoption à une séance subséquente.
Et donc, toujours pour le même objet, il est proposé au Conseil d'adopter le premier projet de règlement numéro 1435-2, modifiant le règlement 1435 régissant la démolition des immeubles en ce qui a trait au montant des amendes et de tenir, conformément à la loi sur l'aménagement et l'urbanisme, une assemblée publique relativement à ce projet, à son contenu et aux conséquences de son adoption le 9 mai 2023 à 17 h.
Merci.
Je propose la résolution.
Merci.
Je l'appuie.
Merci. Je demande le vote, s'il vous plaît. À l'unanimité, merci beaucoup. Bon, on passe là au deuxième période de questions. I will, before we open the second question period, I realized to maintain a certain sense of order and decorum We're going to keep the question period, the question from the questioner at 90 seconds. Alors, 90 secondes, s'il vous plaît, demandez votre question, soyez clair, et je ne donnerai pas plus de temps, s'il vous plaît. Merci beaucoup.
I apologize for the previous question where I got a little heated. I'm still confused about your magical math, but I won't get into that. I just want to...
Mrs. Catini, characterizations actually bring you offside as far as this law is concerned, so I would like to mention to you, you may not agree with the number, and I'd be happy to show you the numbers, but characterizing it as magical math, I'm not going to make up numbers. So okay. I just want to be very clear about that. You know, we may not agree on the amounts, but I will show you how I came to those calculations with pleasure.
Okay,
because I want to bring this to rest.
But the reality is, whatever those numbers are, our building got a 45% rent increase, property tax increase. By law, they have the right to pass that on to us. That's going to be 1/3 of my rent increase. Okay, please let me finish. If you had used the same mill rate, it would have been under 10%. Now, my question is that I don't think, I apologize because I got heated previously. I had asked a question, which was, prior to you doing this new taxation model, were you aware of how things worked at the rental board, how they do their calculation, and what actually happens in a hearing? And in addition to that, did you ever consider that maybe there's a reason no previous mayor ever applied a taxation model like this?
I will answer your question.
Thank you.
So, first of all, I went back 10 years on all the buildings, 10 years to see what the actual tax bills were for each one of the 64 buildings, 10 years. I have a full analysis that was done, impact study, etc. And the conclusion that I came to, whether previous mayors did or previous councils did or did not do any change the factor formula for the apartment buildings, owners of sixplexes and more, I'm not going to weigh in on that or pronounce myself on that. We hit a very unusual period of time where the world lived through a pandemic. Valuations went sky high in properties, okay? People were buying residential homes and paying above asking price. People were buying vacant lots and paying way above asking price. People were buying warehousing spaces and paying way above asking price. People were staying in their homes as opposed to vacationing and renovating their homes. They were throwing money into their homes and caused what ended up occurring was an increase in valuations based on the calculations that are done by the evaluation department of the City of Montreal. I have no control over that. The only thing I can tell you, and I'm going to be very firm about that, and I'm not going to debate it with you here, and I will show you my numbers, is I know what the increase is that is represented by the tax increase per tenant in town of Mont-Royal. And as I mentioned earlier to the other gentleman that came here from 45 Brittany, that amount of increase, if you are paying $980 a month in his case, represents about a 3.5% increase from town of Mont-Royal. All else is the increases, yes, by the landlords, yes, because their valuations went up, maybe their expenses went up, but that's what it represents from town of Mont-Royal. Yes, I did inform myself at the rental board, and as a matter of fact, Mrs. Catini, yes, I know Arnold Bennett. I've known Arnold Bennett since university, just to let you know, very, very well. And so I know him, I know what his modus operandi is, I respect it, but I did inform myself about the way things function at the rental board, yes. Only the amounts, the amount of taxes that would be passed on to you would be the municipal taxes. The rest of it, this is what I'm mentioning, at $985, that's 3.5%. Beyond that, everything else is up to the landlords. Well, what do I tell then property owners who are paying more than 6.92%? Property owners who are paying more than 6.92%. Per tenant, yes, per tenant, per door. But you have to understand, this is a business, so I won't debate it with you, but I'm being... That's correct. There is a human cost, but I will not debate you. I will not debate. No, I believe very strongly that there is a factor that is a large factor which falls upon the shoulders of the property owners. I'm very sorry, but I do not believe 3 point. You may disagree with it. Mrs. Catini, we've had this discussion before. I'm very sorry, but these are the facts, and I have to stick with them. No, I will put it on for you, Mrs. Ely. Go ahead.
Thank you. My question is about the park between the bridges, the Parc de la Gare. I know that it looks like the REM have finished their work on it. Before anything is actually done regarding putting trees and lawn, not trees, but plants and grass and so on, will you be consulting or having a meeting with the residents so we know what it's going to be like?
You're referring to the Dal Park?
Yeah, the Dal Park.
Are you referring to the cement slab that is on there?
Yes.
Okay, I understand.
I believe it's called Parc de la Gare.
I could be.
We all seem to call it the Dal Park, between the two bridges.
Yes, yes.
Which you know we suggested a long time ago.
Presently,
as you know, cost more than $8 million to you. As you know, cost more than $8 million.
we're in the tendering process presently on the project. We're opening tenders end of next week for all the work. So everything, the design is done, everything has been...
So we were not consulted, really?
There had been a consultation.
Well, there was one meeting on a Sunday afternoon where we saw different types of chairs and different types of
That was a consultation on asking residents their different ideas and choices on what they liked and what they didn't like, and we had all that information. It was discussed with members of council, and then it was discussed with the consultant, the landscape architects.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, I was there. I talked.
And we went to tender based on that, and we opened the tenders next week. Yes.
Thank you.
Bon, c'est encore moi. Mais ma question cette fois-ci est pour la conseillère de mon district et du district de l'église Saint-Peter, Madame Alde.
Madame, juste pour que vous compreniez comment ça fonctionne en conseil, les questions sont posées à moi. Et c'est ma décision si j'aimerais...
Monsieur le maire, alors...
C'est la manière que ça fonctionne dans les lois municipales.
Certainement, certainement. Oui. Est-ce que vous m'autorisez à poser une question?
Pas nécessairement. Alors, demandez votre question et je vais voir.
Ma question, c'est son opinion. J'aimerais avoir son opinion sur la question de l'église Saint-Peter, c'est tout.
Je pense que je vais répondre.
Vous connaissez son opinion?
Elle peut avoir une opinion. Mais on discute ensemble en conseil. C'est pourquoi on a un conseil et on a un caucus. Et les décisions sont prises en caucus. Et c'est là où on fait un débat. Son opinion va être présentée vers nous en caucus.
OK, donc vous voulez dire qu'elle ne peut pas parler de son opinion publiquement?
On n'est pas ici pour discuter nos opinions personnellement. Vous pourriez lui écrire. Merci.
Donc elle n'a pas le droit de donner son opinion publiquement, quoi.
J'ai pas dit ça.
Écoutez, c'est tout un régime autocratique que vous avez instauré.
Vous avez une opinion, mais...
Certainement.
Oui, je sais, je le vois.
Que vous savez, je comprends que vous contrôlez l'Assemblée, les questions, il n'y a pas de problème. Je respecte tout à fait les procédures, mais en même temps, c'est le seul lieu que les citoyens ont pour venir exprimer leurs besoins leurs doléances.
Je vais vous expliquer.
Mais si vous voulez nous museler dès qu'on ouvre la bouche, ou bien si tous les conseillers sont muselés, ben, on s'en va où?
Je m'excuse, vous avez tout le droit d'écrire aux conseillers, conseillères, comme vous voulez. Vous n'êtes pas muselés, vous pourriez parler avec eux autres, vous pourriez demander un rendez-vous avec eux autres. Alors, ce n'est pas la seule manière que vous pourriez nous contacter.
Oui, mais tantôt vous m'avez dit qu'une consultation publique n'était pas pertinente et que vous allez décider sans consulter la population.
Non, je n'ai pas dit ça. Non, je n'ai pas dit ça.
Ah, j'ai mal compris alors.
Non, vous avez mal compris. On va avoir des discussions en conseil avant de prendre une décision. Il y a des procédures qui sont prises pour des changements de zonage et il faut consulter le voisinage. C'est tout.
Ah, vous allez consulter le voisinage, donc.
On arrive à ce point-là. Et
peut-être, moi, c'était ça ma question.
Et madame, juste pour vous dire, peut-être vous avez une opinion qui va opposer tel projet ou tel projet, mais peut-être il y a 50 autres résidents qui vont être en faveur.
Ah, mais j'ai pas de problème. Moi, la question est, allez-vous consulter le voisinage, le district?
Il y a une démocratie qui se produit avec ça.
C'est parfait. Merci.
Merci.
Françoise Legris, c'est de Graham. Bonsoir, Monsieur le maire. Bonsoir à tous les conseillers.
Bonsoir.
Je voudrais revenir sur la question du projet de centre sportif. À la dernière séance du conseil, il y a une pétition qui a été déposée par la conseillère Kamali Nezad, qui comportait plus de 1000 signatures de Mont-Royal, qui désire revenir à la version 1.0. Ma question est très simple. Pour contrebalancer cette majorité d'opinion des résidents, j'aimerais savoir combien de commentaires positifs avez-vous reçus par courriel à l'hôtel de ville de Mont-Royal qui sont favorables à la version 2.0, à votre version. Simplement, quel est le nombre de Mont-Royal qui se sont prononcés favorablement pour la version 2.0 du centre sportif?
Je n'ai pas les statistiques là-dessus à main. Je peux vous dire, j'ai lu tous les commentaires qui ont été reçus par courriel. Et puis, dans ce cas-là, il y avait 42 courriels qui ont été reçus par la ville, courriel. Il y en avait, dans les 42, il y avait une couple qui était répétée des personnes qui ont envoyé plus qu'une courriel de commentaires. Et puis, dans ce groupe de commentaires qu'on a reçu, de 42, je dirais, il y avait à peu près 28, 29 qui étaient favorables et la balance qui avait leurs commentaires, qui voulaient retourner, qui voulaient voir la version numéro 1, qui demandaient leurs questions. Mais les autres 500 personnes qui ont rempli le sondage, les chiffres sont déposés et vous allez être capable de lire le rapport et faire vos propres opinions là-dessus. Mais on ne prend pas une décision sur des pétitions, on ne prend pas des décisions. Ce n'est pas les pétitions qui vont bouger notre décision, c'est les faits qui vont bouger. Souvent, des pétitions n'ont pas tous les faits exacts. C'est très simple. Oui, c'est ça. C'est exactement ça. Il y a des motifs, des fois, pour des personnes qui vont créer des pétitions et on les connaît. Oui, exactement. Exactement. Non, on le fait dans l'intérêt des résidents et des citoyens. C'est pourquoi on s'est mis dans cette position et on travaille tellement fort pour les résidents, pas pour notre ego. Merci. Merci.
Tanya Naim, 235 Glengarry. Good evening. Off topic of all the other important subjects, the security around the schools, it's a huge problem. I'm sure you're aware. A lot of counselors make opening comments about it every meeting that some of us attend. What is the town doing to educate the residents, the drivers, the parents, Some schools have their street closed, like Dunray. Other schools tried to get the street closed, which we couldn't. There's multiple security committees on the schools. Some teachers and members are out there trying to direct traffic. What is the town doing, because it was one of the priorities, for the security around most of the Francophone schools, including the Anglophones? Obviously, Carlisle too doesn't have a street that's closed, and there's a lot of incidents that I witness myself morning and night. So that's my question.
Perfect, thank you, thank you. So there is a plan in place. I know we've had a circulation committee which was formed by a number of members of council, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, and many good recommendations, and they worked with our public security team. And there's a lot of education that has to go on, but it's really not just on the town's back to do everything. What happens is that we found out that parents are very intolerant. Parents are very resistant to changes and guidance when they're in and around the schools and they want to drop their kids off. A lot of parents, so we have public security there. We have them working with the schools. The schools need to take a greater active role in advising the parents to respect our public security and the crosswalk people that are hired. I think that's by the city of Montreal.
Police.
The police. And quite often, parents don't respect it. But we're doing everything we can. I think there have been other measures, Mrs. Couch, that were put into place recently?
Yeah, maybe what I can first say is that the closure of streets around schools, in the case of Dunray, or in the case as it used to be at Saint-Clément-Est, there's no homes on the other side of the street. So it's much easier to close that street than when there are residents who live on that street and have to come and go to work or whatever it is. So the closure of streets, it's not something that just at the drop of a hat we can close the street. But we're aware of the situation. Our public security employees are at schools. They're present at the schools when the schools start in the mornings. They're there in the afternoons, everything within reason. When there's a brigadier scolaire that is absent, most of the time it's our public security that steps in and handles it. So when you ask what is the town doing, we are doing a lot of things. We also meet with school principal when they or other representatives of the school to see what better measures we could do. We ask the schools regularly to send out letters and notices to the parents, reminding them that not to double park, not to drop their children off in the middle of the street. But, you know, we can't be there and hold every parent's hand to say what is the right way to behave and what is the wrong way to behave. But we're aware of the situation near the schools, and we've given a mandate to an engineering consulting firm to do a study on safety around our elementary schools. We gave the mandate about a month ago. So they're working on, and they're going to come with recommendations as to certain things that we could do to improve the safety around the schools.
And
yes, please do.
It's not only in our municipality. There's a movement in all the province with, at different levels of government. But I do agree with you. We have to educate the parents. Do you think sending out, is there funds to send out letters or to send out pamphlets, like a real message statement to all your residents that drive, because it's not just parents that drive around the school, on s'entend. So is it something that if it comes from the town and not just from the schools, like a pamphlet or something pour sensibiliser maybe once a year to all your residents about the safety around the school? Because when you say it here, just a few people hear you. But if you send out to every door of TMR, I think there might be a bigger impact.
We've asked the schools to notify the parents.
The schools are just the parents.
We put it in the local paper again this week. There was
an article,
an advertising notice from the town that we put in that says to drive carefully and that la sécurité est importante. And we also have large posters that we put up in the summer on our streets reminding people to drive. So we're putting it out there, and I also speak with the police fairly regularly, asking them to do speed checks and stop sign checks.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
You're welcome. Okay, with that, I believe that was our last questioner. We now move on to le lever de la séance.
Je propose.
Merci beaucoup.
Je l'appuie.
Merci beaucoup. Je demande le vote, s'il vous plaît. À l'unanimité. Merci beaucoup.